Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone that I think we should really all be keeping an eye on. Just 4 years into origination and already experiencing some really impressive and tremendous growth. His lifestyle videos on Facebook are what initially caught my attention. An avid runner, we'll say, a new dad, and really just an all-around cool dude. Like Matt Dickens, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you, Connor. Thanks for having me. The avid runner. We're gonna put an asterisk on that,
Remains to be seen.
Yeah. I gotta put more than 20 days together than to get that title. But no, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to just have this conversation and get some of your story out there. I mean, this podcast is for loan officers that have figured out the basics of this business and are looking to find ways to grow. And so when we talk to people who are in the thick of it, who are figuring things out and getting beyond just that 3 loan a month milestone, it's always great to get that story out there. And so I just want to get started real quick with kind of the obvious question. No one ever gets into this business, it seems like, intentionally. So how did mortgage find you? Like, when did you decide to get into this crazy industry?
Yeah, I like the frame of that question because I certainly wasn't, on my lemonade stand at 12 years old, just dreaming of being a mortgage lender. I was like, I'm gonna go play hockey. I'm gonna go be a professional athlete. Obviously, those things didn't ring to be true. But everyone has a weird story, a different story on how they stumbled into the real estate or mortgage industry. So mine starts with my wife and I. She was my girlfriend at the time. This is October 2020, and we bought a duplex to house hack this duplex. But I'm going to take you back like 7 months prior
Okay.
of executing this deal. And I had read a book on just the whole concept of house hacking, which, for the listeners that don't know what house hacking is, it's buying a single family home or a multifamily home as a primary residence and then using that same home to earn income and offset your housing expense. It's usually done with a multifamily, so like a 2, 3, or 4 family unit. For us, we bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented out the other. Thought it would be a great way to buy an asset, reduce our housing expense, and just start a good financial foundation. But I'll take you back to a couple months before we actually closed on this home. I was reading a book and just telling me about this concept, and I just then pitched it to my girlfriend at the time, not my wife now. And I'm like, babe, we got to do this house hack thing. I think, it fits us. I think it'd be great. And I didn't even finish my sentence before she's like, hell no, we're not doing that. Absolutely not. But then a couple months down the road, she's like, oh my gosh, babe, we should do this house hack thing. I just talked to my girlfriends. And I was like, oh, you're brilliant. What a great idea.
Great idea.
So fast forward, to make a long story short, did the house hack thing. I was in commercial real estate at the time on a salary, more corporate position. I expressed my lack of enthusiasm of that job to my mortgage lender who did the house hack for us. And he was like, you know what? Why don't you come shadow me for a day? And I feel like you'd like this industry. And I'm like, right on. That sounds good. So I went to his house, and I went to his house because this is COVID era. So he's working from home. And I get there at 6:30 in the morning. He's like, get here at 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, damn, kind of early, but all right. And I get there and he's bumping music. I mean, he's like, this guy looks like he's been up for 4 hours already. I just start truly watching him go about his day. And he's calling people. He's connecting with people in his networking group. His phone's going off the hook. And I'm like, I love the pace of this. And it seems like this is a relationship intensive career. But then I started talking to him about like what hard work and dedication could turn this job into, and fell in love with how he did things. And so I put my 2 weeks in the next day and joined him as a junior loan officer. He did 20 million in 3 months. The first 3 months that I was with him, did 20 million in refis and threw me straight in the fire. Like, no excuses. This is a refi opportunity. We're in this world he's never experienced, but he's like, you are in this position, a very unique position, to learn this business right now, because I'm going to throw you in the fire. You're going to learn how to process a loan. You're going to learn how to understand documents and application, literally see the evolution of a loan, and do that 7 times a day for 3 months straight. So I'm so grateful for that experience. Just not only see the loan process itself, but watch a very high performing mortgage lender do his thing.
We
So
we
very
hear this
grateful.
come up a lot on this show. People who are performing at a high level now typically got their start in a very high performance environment. And I mean, for me, it's the fastest way to learn the industry and the it's like the biggest hack to becoming a bigger producer. I mean, from my perspective, I talk to a lot of people who join branches that maybe their top producer in the branch is doing 15, maybe 20 million in volume. And then the rest of the branch is somewhere around 6, 8, 10. And while that's a decent environment, you're not seeing the kind of work ethic and the kind of like exposure to the volume of
Yes.
files that you need
Yes.
to get where you want to go faster. So um, that's awesome that someone gave you that opportunity. That's
Yeah,
great.
very grateful for it for sure.
Yeah. So now you work alongside, or your wife is also in real estate. How has that influenced the way you run your business?
Yeah. Well, we got together and she wasn't a realtor and we were just boyfriend, girlfriend. And then she became a realtor. So that's why like I proposed to her because I'm like, I'm going to stick with one realtor
Yeah.
relationship.
Job
Okay.
security.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, all right, now that you're a realtor, I guess we'll get married. No, all jokes aside, it's great. Like I am a more sales minded person. And I think what comes with that is a little bit of shiny object syndrome. And I see her, and I think women in general, especially women in this business, I find them to be way more organized and keep things way more simple. And so I see her operate her business in that light, and that positively influences me for sure. Because I mean, there's a lot of shiny objects and cool whistles, tools, revenue generating activities that you can do to grow a business. But seeing her stay controlled and focused is daily is really a positive influence for sure on me.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, so along the way, you're funding loans, you're helping people in the homes. I mean, is there a story out there from of a borrower that still resonates with you today, or something that really like says this is why I do
Mhm.
this?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most fascinating borrower that I can tell a story about um, is they're actually sisters. So there's two sisters, and they both have husbands. And one sister buys a primary residence a couple years ago, 5% down. Then the next year, she buys another primary residence, 5% down. Her sister's like, oh, that's a good idea. So she starts doing it. Fast forward, both of them separately have bought 5 different primary residences and now have 4 investment properties and 1 primary residence. And they did it all through 5% down, 5% every single year. And in that experience, and also my own with house hacking, I just see such value in that. And I really encourage the college graduate to see that as an opportunity because here these women are now, they have 4 investment properties and the total down payment that they've had to put down is 25%, you know? So you now have 4 investment properties that are performing, cash flowing, and you bought them with a low down payment, but you had to suck it up and move every year. And so there's sacrifice to that, but I love that as a testimony and proof when I'm focusing on my audience, which is first time home buyers, specifically recent college graduates. I have 2 amazing testimonies to share and put real light to the opportunities that real estate can present to the young adult who's willing to move that much and be structured enough to do
Yeah,
that strategy.
I love that you're focused on that demographic of client. I've got personally a daughter who's a senior in high school who'll be going to college, and that's something that really weighs on my mind a lot. It's like, how is she going to buy a house when she gets out of college? And so, how are you connecting with those borrowers? Are you reaching them primarily through social media? Do you go out to college campuses? Like, how are you getting in front of that audience?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri, and I went back last year to do some interviews. Like, like man on the street. I don't know if you've
Okay.
seen those TikToks where a random guy walks up to a stranger and asks them questions. I did that, but I asked them more mortgage questions, and I wanted to do like a case study to act because I could sit here and tell myself all day long to the cows come home that the average college graduate doesn't know how to buy a house. But until you actually go in that environment and ask them questions, I didn't really know the true answer. So I went there and visited, and I had a camera in front of me, and I just asked these people, like, what's the minimum credit score that you need to buy a house? And they said like 900. So they have no idea. And I was like, what is the minimum down payment? And they said 100,000. So they gave a dollar amount. Like, these are people that are spending $40,000 to $80,000 on a college education and don't know the basic fundamentals of home ownership. And I see that as a problem. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I go to those campuses, and then like the lead conversion aspect is what I'm working on right now. And it's a course, an online course. I don't like to use a course word because everyone has a course, but it's really just a video guide on how to turn your confusion into confidence. And then that turns them into a client for us. So it's taking them out of their confusion. Like, how do you even start saving? Like, why do you need to save? What do you need to save? Not only just talking about the pre-approval process or shopping for homes, I have that, but it's you're 18 years old. This is what you need to do right now, kind of thing. So I'm like turning them, I feel like I want to turn them into a home buyer instead of I need to go seek the current home buyer market. I see this as an opportunity to turn these people who are on the road to renting until they're 30. I want to turn them into home buyers and then obviously clients by teaching them the fundamentals of saving when they're 18, when they're 19, when they're 20.
Yeah, that's an awesome mission, man. I support that 100%. That's amazing. So on the other side, there's the relationships that you build with agents, and we talked before we got on this podcast, and something you mentioned is that you are really great one-on-one. Like, that's sort of your bread and butter of how you work with the agents and generate new leads and things like that. Others might do classes to the whole brokerage or things like that, but why is that? Why do you feel like that's your strength?
I There's a book out there that I've read. I don't know the name or the author, but it talks about like the communication pyramid, and at the top is one to one. And I found that I can get to a close relationship with an individual much quicker by meeting them one to one and having a one on one conversation in person. Some strategies that are like, I'm just going to comment on this realtor's post every month for 6 months. I'm going to shoot them a mailer. I'm going to shoot them an email, which is all lovely and great to stay top of mind, but to actually build a deep rooted relationship that then turns into a referral relationship, I found that I needed to get in front of people one to one and ask questions. And that's the thing in sales. We all want to show up and throw up. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, but I think salespeople are like, I have 2 mouths and 1 ear. Some people don't even have a damn ear. So that's key to it is listening and asking questions instead of I have these products, I closed this quickly. My team, like, they don't care.
Yeah, yeah. And you said something really smart about how you are having the agents that you've done business with introduce you to new agents. And I thought that was a really great concept. So can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's just in the sake of like time is time is finite, and I want to know how I can spend the least amount of time with the greatest impact. And if I have now built one relationship, a trusted relationships with one individual, I have a choice to either go out and meet a stranger with this hour that I have, or I can ask that individual to refer me or introduce me to someone that they know. And then I can go through that trust of that individual, which puts me in a better standing than I would be in if I met a stranger. and I can then convert more efficiently on that relationship. It's started as a time saver, but I'm really seeing that the main benefit is more of an efficiency saver.
Mhm. Yeah.
Kind of obvious concept here, but yeah, that's what I just like doing.
Yeah, no, I love that. You've got the trust through the other agent, and they're, just expedites the whole process, right?
Yeah.
So there's just less back and
I
forth.
always thought it's easier if someone else can sell you
Hmm.
than yourself. Like, I'd rather have the scoreboard tell people, how good my team is rather
Sure.
than me, the coach, saying my team's like, we can all sit here and say, "Oh, I'm so amazing." Everyone's going to say they're amazing. So what other evidence do you have? And I like to use similar and comparable people to then go get comparable people. Like, I want to use a realtor who's used me to then go find realtors who want to use me.
Right. Makes perfect sense. So you mentioned something about your team, and you mentioned when we talked before that there was an addition to your team that was really a game changer for you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Whoa, my goodness gracious. I'm just going to kick my whole camera there.
Earthquake.
Earthquake, yeah. To backtrack, so when I started in this industry, I was obviously thrown into the fire as a junior loan officer, but then after my junior loan officer time, I went on my own, and I did not have like a dedicated transaction coordinator or a loan officer assistant. And so it was all up to me. I'm grateful for that time because, again, I got to really experience the life of the loan, which is very important. But as I grew, I was looking at numbers on a month to month basis, and I saw some extreme volatility. I didn't like that, and the missus didn't like that either. So we had to make a pivot. And I realized that, like, I'm doing all of in 1 month, I'll do a bunch of revenue generating activities, a bunch of marketing. I'm out in the field. Well, that would then produce a bunch of business. Not having a support system, someone's got to do the business, the admin work. And that was me. So I then spend 1 month in the trenches behind the computer. Well, the month preceding that would be a slow month because I was in the trenches behind the computer. So I would continue to see so much volatility. So I had to make a hire, and I guess I've been working with Laura for the last year and a half, and it's been a complete game changer. Her strength is behind the scenes computer work. Talking with processors, talking with underwriters, reporting back to me on files. My strength, marketing, relationships, front of the house kind of deal. And what I've seen is so much more consistency in my pipeline. So, um, yeah, that's been easily the best change and decision that I've made so far in this
Very good.
business.
Yeah, man. And so your strength being marketing, like I said at the very beginning, I saw your lifestyle videos. I thought those were great. The day in the life of and different things like that. And I'm just curious, like what are some of the results that you're seeing from those now that you've started making those, and how have those been impacting your business?
Yeah. I think there's a indirect impact that I've seen as I post more consistently. Like, I've noticed that if I put like 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row together, my phone will start ringing, or the DMs will start being more populated with just inquiries about mortgage or houses or just financial questions. And it makes sense because if I just have a LinkedIn profile that says Matt the mortgage lender, no one's being reminded of that. And in my day in the life videos, I'll include like me working at my computer doing a pre-approval. And so they're getting a glimpse of what I do, and they might have a question on the top of their head, and then my video reminds them to ask me. So I don't know if I've seen a direct, like, since I've started, I've closed X more percent loans, but it's the indirect benefit that I've seen. A lot of my messages, emails, phone calls have been more busy since I'm starting to do the day in the life videos.
And would you say like your inbound is that also your target audience, those first time home buyers, people who are just trying to get started? Is that kind of more what you're getting from that?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought, like, who's my audience? The 18 to 30-year-old. Well, where can I mass communicate to 18 to 30-year-olds? And it's social media, you know? So it's like that's the avenue, but it's also, what do I like doing? I like being a creative person. And it all kind of makes sense for me to market myself, showcase myself, but also get in front of my audience at the same time.
Yeah. So this was something we talked about as far as like database management, and I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I know you mentioned you did too, so you're not alone. Don't worry. But you said that your wife is like great at it,
Yeah.
and that's something that you mentioned a podcast she'd listen to, and I mean, what have you learned from that? Observing what she does and what others in the real estate community are doing to stay on top of their clients.
Yeah, it's also avoid a whack-a-mole approach, I think. It's kind of back to what I was talking about in turning one buyer into 10. Like, you have a database, and let's categorize the database into past client as a category. This is 5, 10, 100, 1,000 people that have used you, experienced your services. They might not know that you are a referral-based person or 100% commission. You put food on the table by getting referrals. And if you don't let them know that, you're missing out on the most and the strongest body of people that could refer you. And so that's why I think database work is so important. It's funny, it's kind of ridiculous that I say that because I don't really focus on that, which is really annoying. But it's something that I'm really trying to work on because it's so key and important. And I think realtors do a better job of that by doing events, quarterly events. The pie days on Thanksgiving. I don't know if you guys, is that a thing in Texas, in Dallas at all?
I'm not sure. I'm a two-time pie eating champion.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. I am. But no, I don't. I don't know of any pie day. What do you mean?
Okay, so it's very common in St. Louis, the real estate community, realtors do a pie day around Thanksgiving, and they reach out to all their clients. And this is across all brokers. This is not specific to Keller Williams or Coldwell. This is like every damn realtor in St. Louis. They reach out to their past clients and say, it's pie day on, the Friday before Thanksgiving. Their past clients say, yes, I want a pie. And they have to come to the office and get a pie. They just hand out a free pie. And it's apple pie or, pecan pie, whatever.
Sign me up.
But they do that to their database. So then it's a reason to get in front of actual in-person in front of their database, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah. Manufacturing those opportunities is so smart. I mean, if you could sit down and just think for an entire day, what are all the different ways that I could just attract an audience? I mean, you come up with Pie Day, right? It's brilliant.
What's this two-time pie eating champion about? Tell me
Okay,
about
so
that.
I'll unpack that real quick. So when I don't want to, maybe 10 years ago, maybe not that long ago. Anyway, every year in my community, they have an Arbor Days event. And so they just celebrate Arbor Days at the rec center. And finally, one year, they started doing these eating competitions. And I told my wife at the time, I was like, listen, because a few years before that, we were at another like community event with some family, and they did like a pierogi eating contest. And I was like, I could have totally won that. Like I was just watching it, going like, "Yes, I could do it." And I told my wife, I was like, "I really want to do this. I know it's going to be embarrassing, okay, but I promise, I promise, when I do it, I'll start working out and I'll get in shape, and it was just whatever. I was just trying to sell it
My
though.
goodness.
So I enter, and yeah, it was just like a store bought, grocery store apple lattice pie, and everybody got one. And you put your hands behind your back, and they gave us 5 minutes, and whoever ate the most in 5 minutes was the winner. Admittedly, it was probably the easiest group to beat. It was
Okay.
mostly kids under the age of like
My
13,
gosh, Connor.
but there were a few
Little
adults.
Jimmy, the 7-year-old, is looking over. He's got Connor, this grown-ass man.
And I got apple filling up my nose, in my eyes, it's all over the place. And so, I won. And so I was like, I have to defend the
Oh my
title.
gosh. That is
And so
priceless.
next year I go and I compete again, I win again. And then,
They kicked you out. And then after that, they said, dude, you're too old.
No, and then it was COVID. That's what it was. So then it was COVID, and they didn't do the event for 2 years. And so I like to say I had the title for 4 years, and then I came back in the fifth year, and I lost. The guy who beat me, like, basically ate the entire freaking pie. And then later that day, talk about a local legend. Later that day, he won the pizza eating contest also. So, like, could you imagine? In the
Gluttonous.
same day, he ate an entire apple pie and then won a pizza eating contest. Like, lost to the best.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah. I mean, you might as well. Yeah, you'd rather lose to the Super Bowl champion than.
exactly, I don't feel bad about it at all. So anyway, well, hey, let's wrap up here. Is there any advice that you would give anyone who's listening that you haven't had a chance to talk about? Like, is there anything that you want to just leave the listeners with today?
Yeah, I think authenticity is really needed to succeed in this business. It's hard to be your true authentic self when you're starting out because you're doing something that you've never done. So you're going to try to be a person that you've never been. And in that, you might have tendencies to act a different way or to just stretch yourself beyond your normal authenticity. And I think something that's helped me, at least, or at least other people have affirmed this, is being your true self and your true honest self is the best way, because in that you'll attract people that like you, and working with people that like you is really enjoyable because this industry can be very stressful, and it's a lot better when you work with your friends. And
Right.
to make friends, you have to be authentic, honest, and yeah, it takes a little bit of patience with yourself and with others. But being your true self, trusting in your true self, you'll attract people that like you, and that's eventually going to turn into fruitful relationships that produce business and just enjoyment throughout.
Love that, man. And I'll add one thing to it, and because I think this is a reminder, this is something we tell our kids all the time. It's so easy to get caught into that trap because we all have insecurities and we all think we're a little weird and that people wouldn't like us the way we are, but everybody thinks that. And so just be yourself and you'll find the people that love you for who you are and you'll love them for who they are. And you're absolutely right. Then you just start living in this, great world of doing business with your friends and having a lot of fun doing it and inviting other people along for the ride. And so really some magical things can happen. It's a lot better than feeling uncomfortable all the time
100%.
and trying to pretend to be someone else. So great, great stuff, man. I appreciate you being on the lowdown, Matt. It was awesome hearing your story and everything you had to share. And I just wish you nothing but the best of luck for the future. And, high five to you, brother.
High five.
Bam. All right. Have a good one.
All right, Connor. Thanks.